and so many things open around you, you really should take notice of which one you're picking up.
Oh.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. About a year ago, just over a year ago, I made a video regarding turtles and tortoises. I don't know if you saw that, but it was tiny moulds that I bought from a shop on Etsy. The shop's name is Crazy Nature, and I will put their link in the description box below. Her moulds are so sweet. They're tiny, they're small, they're for small pieces. And my eyes are not as good as they used to be, but I do like making them because they're so sweet. Well, she saw the video and she contacted me and asked me if I'd like some of her older moulds, ones that had been used once or twice. And I was very taken by that. And I said, yes, please. Thank you very much. And I haven't got them out. And it occurred to me the other day, where are they? So I had to rummage through the box and I found them. And I'm really excited to try a couple of these moulds out. I won't be doing the turtle again, but there are some other pieces in there that I think will come out really, really nicely. So these are the moulds that Crazy Nature sent me. The turtle was one I was looking for last year when I was making the turtles and couldn't find. I've since found it and I just thought I'd show you. But all the others were given to me by the lady herself. And I think it's just a small company. I believe it's one person that makes these. She's in the UK. They are very petite, very detailed, and quite reasonable to buy as well. And I will put the link for Crazy Nature's Etsy store in the description box below. But I just thought I'd show you which ones I was sent. Some of them are not available now, but there are some amazing moulds on the Etsy store. For now, I'm just going to concentrate on this little snail mould, or slug, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it a snail because I think I'm going to put shells on them. I've put some UV resin in the mould, and I'm showing you how I'm getting the bubbles out of the little tentacles. Because the last thing you want is a bubble in the tentacle. It will ruin your piece. As they are so small, you really need to concentrate on the detail. I'm just using clear UV resin. Simple as. You can't get any simpler than just using clear. Plus the fact that you can see any bubbles through it. And that makes life simple too. It's a clear mould. The UV light goes right the way through this mould and it cured perfectly. So far, this has taken me a few minutes, if that. Absolutely adorable little slug or snail, whatever you want to call it. It's very sweet. It is a matte finish. Now, because it's a matte finish, I wanted to give the base a matte finish too, because any cured resin is crystal clear and shiny. So I got out some 1200 grit wet dry sanding paper and I started to sand. Literally within seconds you can see the difference that it's turning matte. Now with any resin it is best to sand wet. That's why I use wet dry sanding paper. And 1200 grit is more than adequate to sand down to get a matte finish on a piece. I'm not showing you all the sanding and I have speeded it up a fair bit, but it really was quick. I mean, if I left all the sanding in this video, it would literally add a minute. But this is a long video and I do have to take out the bits that are less important to watch. Once I've done a little bit of sanding, I now have a really nice matte finish on the bottom as well as the top. And it always gives a nice tactile feel as well. little snails are basically a blank canvas for you to put whatever you want on their back as a shell. You could create your own shells in another resin mould and add that to their back. You could put an actual shell and glue that on the back. There's gotta be 100 ways you could make shells for the back of these snails. I'm choosing small round glass orbs to start with. I've got out some Nebula, which is one of the Tiny Turner's pigments, and I'm adding a small amount of the colour into the glass orb. This is just an idea I decided to try. I've never used these glass orbs before, but they're very easy to get hold of. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on Temu. I'm pretty sure I bought these back from when I went to America last year. Now I'm going to fill it up with liquid, and you can use whatever liquid that you want. What I tend to do most of the time is use a 50-50 mix of glycerine and distilled water. That gives a gloopy kind of mix, not too runny. Water on its own I think is a little bit too runny, and the glycerine on its own is a little bit too thick, but the two together work really well. A lot of people use baby oil, but you can use whatever works for you. This works for me. I'm going to glue the caps that come with these orbs onto the orb. As there's liquid in the orb, I want to make sure I get a completely airtight seal, and I'm going to use UV glue. So, to make sure that it absolutely 100% sticks to the metal, which resin doesn't really like to do, doesn't like sticking to metal, I'm scoring up the case so that it's got a grip for the glue. That is quite important. Now, if you do this, be careful of your hands, be careful of your fingers. These knives are very sharp. I'm trying really hard to do it in front of the camera, and it's not easy. I'm going to use Let's Resin UV glue. Now, this glue sticks like you wouldn't believe in 10 seconds. That's all. So a little bit of this glue on this cap, and make sure with a micro brush to get it right the way around the outside edge. I place it upside down over the hole on the orb, making sure I've got it in the middle, and then I cure it with the little torch that comes with the glue pack. Rechargeable, absolutely amazing little torch. And as I said, this glue cures in 10 seconds. It is fast. As always though, it is a UV light, so be careful of your eyes. And it does stick. Unlike using normal UV resin, this is a bonding resin. Now I've shaken the ball up, I have a gorgeous pink orb. It settles when you leave it, and as I've put the tiny glass beads in, you can shake it up and you get a dance of pink colour and lights through this orb. And I'm going to stick it on the back of the snail. Again with the UV glue, I make sure I get a good coverage on the back of the snail. And yes, I can guarantee this stuff does stick to glass, even though I didn't think it would. Get rid of any bubbles with a long neck lighter, pop the orb on and make sure it's straight and in the right direction. I had to think about which way the cord would go around your neck as to which way I wanted the hoop to go. And when I'm happy, I just popped it under the lamp for 3 minutes. It really didn't need 3 minutes, but that's what I did. This was a very quick little project, and I absolutely loved making it, and I loved how it came out. I went on and made a blue one. I also had a red body that I'd made previously because I had some leftover resin, and I put a little orb on that as well, and I absolutely love these pieces. But I decided to do more. Have you ever stared into a goldfish bowl and just been mesmerised by the little goldfish swimming around in front of you? I loved doing that as a child, I must admit. So I decided to make myself some goldfish bowls. This is a very small sphere mould. I just searched small sphere mould on Temu, on AliExpress, on Amazon, and I'll try and put the link for this one in the description box below, but there's loads available. Now I have these tiny goldfish. They are absolutely diddy. These did come from Temu, and I will put the code for that purchase in the description box below. I thought these would make beautiful goldfish bowls. In the middle one I decided to put 2 fish, and I tried to place them both in the right direction. The smaller one, the fish only just fit, and the large one, the fish kind of was a little bit lost, but I figured it would look really good. I filled the moulds up 3/4 of the way, the large one about halfway, and I cured them under the lamp for 5 minutes. The large one does take quite a volume of resin, and I didn't want to overheat it. I then went back and filled up the 2 larger moulds with more UV resin. I just want to say a quick hello and welcome to all my new subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It doesn't cost a thing, and it would definitely help my channel out. And a thumbs up is always really appreciated. It shows YouTube that we're enjoying the content, and it will push it out to more people. So a thumbs up really helps too. At this point, I'm having so much fun. All these ideas were just going through my head, and I figured this video could be a couple of hours long if I kept going, because really I had so many ideas. But staying with this idea, I figured I would put some Eclipse on the bottom of these orbs before they're demolded. Eclipse is a really gorgeous blue when you've got black behind it, and using some Let's Resin black UV resin, I just dotted that on the top of the blue Eclipse. I can imagine these in all sorts of colours, but I tried to stay water-like. Again, I put it under the lamp for 5 minutes. It's time to demold, and I'm so excited to see these goldfish in bowls. Honestly, I am so excited. I didn't even take the time to clean my black mat. I was so excited, I just wanted to see what they were like. And they are all different. The large one, as I said, the goldfish was a little lost, but because I put the blue on the base, depending on which way you're looking at it, it's got a blue background. The 2 goldfish is my hands down favourite, and the little one is just so cute. The goldfish only just fit in there. I'm glad that isn't real life. I wouldn't be very happy to see a little goldfish in a bowl like that. At this point, I could see myself making hundreds of these little snails in all varieties, with all different things in their shells. But I needed 3 bodies for the 3 goldfish bowls that I just made. And I decided to not go clear. I thought, why not just make different colours? So this time I'm using the blue Let's Resin UV resin. And there are plenty of companies out there that make different colour UV resin. I figured the blue and aqua would be ideal for this type of thing. Making sure I get the air bubbles out of the little tentacles area. I cured it for 5 minutes. And I have now a little blue snail body. Absolutely gorgeous. Again, with all these pieces, I do go on and sand the bottom to make them nice and tactile and a matte appearance. Now, as I said, I had all these ideas, and I figured why not make one that was a mottled colour using the UV resin and some colour on top. So I put a small amount of UV clear resin in this body. Again, I'm showing you how I get the bubbles out. It's quite therapeutic to watch it, I think. And once you put some more resin in the mould, those bubbles will float to the top, and you can get them out with a little micro brush so that there's no bubbles in there at all. Now, before curing this one, I top it up a little bit with clear, and then I get out the Aurora pigment from the tiny turner. I put a small amount of UV resin in a cup and add some of this Aurora colour. The Aurora colour is a greeny colour. I'm not a fan of green, but I do appreciate that green and blue go together in the sea. So I'm staying with the water theme throughout. So with a micro brush, I'm adding this colour in very small amounts into the clear UV resin, just to give it a fleck of green. Again, lots of fun to do. And then I cure it for 5 minutes. I then go on and get some dark matter out. Now, dark matter is a stunning blue purple, absolutely gorgeous colour. But the body of the snail was already too cured, it wasn't sticky at all. So I squirted some isopropyl alcohol onto it that helps the mica powder stick. It gives it a little bit of a barrier so that you can put quite a lot of colour on there. It's a little bit like mixing the alcohol to the mica powder to paint with it. I just did it a different way. And of course, I make sure I don't squirt the isopropyl alcohol directly into the tub of mica. That would not be cool. Once I'm happy with coverage of the blue, then I'm going to cover the back with the black UV resin. It doesn't take much. There's not much room in these moulds, but it is quite essential because the colour with black behind it will really pop. After curing, I can demold my little body and see what colour I've got, and it's really mottled green blue colour. Again, I'm sanding the bottom to give it that tactile matte finish, and I absolutely love this one. I think it could have done with a little bit more colour in the head, but it is beautiful. And just one last attempt at making an orb, I decided to put some flowers in one. Now these are just imitation synthetic flowers. They come from a little bunch I got from a local store. I chopped some off, tied them up and put them in the resin. I am fully expecting bubbles here. This is not going in my pressure pot, but it's a trial and I wanted to see what it came out like. So again, 5 minutes under the lamp. When I'm demolding this, I'm really quite excited to see how this one has come out. And there are a mass of bubbles in there, but I really like it. I think it's really cute. And I thought this little garden would go great on top of a snail. So I chopped off all the bits that were sticking out. I gave it a little bit of a trim to make sure it was flat. Again, I scored the top so that the glue would stick, and I glued the top onto the orb. So gluing these ones together, the larger orb is definitely quite overpowering to this little snail body, but it still fits, it still works. I glued the top on first before I glued the body. And when you've got so many pots and so many things open around you, you really should take notice of which one you're picking up. Oh. Yep, you guessed it, I grabbed the wrong one. No harm done really. A cotton bud just gets rid of any excess wrong colour before I put the glue in the right place. It can be quite annoying. Now that I've got the top piece on the big orb, it's easier to handle so that I can place it in the right place on the body and then put it under the curing lamp for 2 minutes. I was thinking of loads of different ways I could make orbs for these little snails. I can make planetary orbs, just swirly patterns, and put all sorts in them and cure them. This is a really quick, really easy project that gives results. And these little snails, I think, would go amazingly well at any craft fair. So have a think, what would you put in these orbs? I have made all of these pieces into pendants and they are now on my website for sale. I've not charged very much for them because it was fun to make them. And I hope you try it too, or something similar. I have had so much fun with this mould. I had planned to use several of the moulds that I was gifted by Crazy Nature, but this one just took over and I couldn't stop making them. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've got something out of it, and I hope it's really inspired you as it did me. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting. And bye for now.